Hi everyone. I'm just waiting until everybody has signed in, so just bear with me. I can see that people are arriving, and then I'll start. I hope you can all hear and see me okay. Okay, I'm just waiting for a few more people, and then I'll get started. Just waiting. I'll just wait a minute or so, and then I'll start. I can see that there are more people arriving. I hope you can all see and hear me okay. Just tell me in the chat if there's a problem, but hopefully everything is working. Okay, well, I think I'll make a start. I think most of you are here now. Just checking again. Yes, I think we'll get going. So welcome to this Pontas Agency live pitch session. I'm Carla Briner. I'm an agent here at Pontas. As you can hear, I'm English, but I'm based in France, near Paris. And my colleagues, the agenting team, and Anna are based in and around Barcelona. So if you are in either city or either country, do tell us, do drop us a line. And, we always like to meet our publishing colleagues and friends outside of the screens. So please just get in touch. So just for a bit of context, for those of you who are less familiar with the agency, Pontus was founded over 30 years ago now by Anna Solapont to champion underrepresented voices, women's voices, diaspora voices, and voices from all over the globe. And this ethos is really at the centre of everything we do still here at Pontus. As you'll see with the books I'm going to present, this is always at the forefront of our minds and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to champion. As I'm sure you maybe know already, we represent Spanish and Catalan language authors, as well as French language and English language authors. Again, within those languages, we really try to look beyond the the standard language. So for example, English language, we really are looking all over the globe, particularly, from the African continent. I'm going to talk to you about a debut Indian novelist today. So really trying to champion and talk about those individual experiences, trying not to add to that homogenous experience in terms of English language, for example. And I think you'll see from what I'll present today that this is really what we're trying to do in terms of the projects we're choosing, the authors we're trying to champion, and the narratives that we think should be part of the conversation today, and which maybe haven't been heard and haven't been prioritised until now. So I'm excited to be here. I think some of you will know me, some of you won't. I'm the newest member of the team here at Pontus, but it's exciting to be here, and I'm going to present 5 titles today, and I think these are our hot titles for Frankfurt, but also just really gives you a sense of the breadth and the variety of the projects that we have here at Pontas, not only in terms of language, but also in terms of genre, because I'll be talking about a literary fiction title, an upmarket fiction title. We also have crime and thriller, and also a darkly humorous, a commercial novel as well. So I think there really is, hopefully, something for everybody. I am also going to try and keep this fairly brief. I'm going to try and keep it to half an hour. Also, we will send you a recap after this, so you don't need to be frantically making notes. Do by all means if you want to, but we will send an email after this. If you have any questions, you can write them in the chat, and hopefully my colleague Clara might be able to answer them for you, or you can send us an email afterwards. And also, this session is being recorded, so we can also share the link. So if anybody couldn't attend today, by all means, we can share it and they can have this information as well. So I think we should get going. So first author that I wanted to speak to you all about is Clea Koff. I've got her photo here. So Clea Koff is a Tanzanian American writer. She was born in the UK and grew up between the UK and the US and is now based in California. And she is a forensic anthropologist. You may know her already because she published a memoir about her experiences as working in one of the first UN international forensic teams going in to investigate war crimes and the mass graves of Rwanda, Bosnia, Croatia and Kosovo. And she wrote this best-selling, internationally acclaimed memoir, The Bone Woman, which again, some of you may already know. It was published in 2004. It was published very widely, where she really wrote about the emotional and the psychological impact of that work on her. Just as a side note, we also represent this book for Clea. All of the information is on our website because there are a lot of option publishers still, but just if you wanted any more information about that, it's on our website. But giving that for context, after Clea had finished her work overseas, she came back to the US and she founded a non-profit agency, and really using her forensic anthropology skills to match missing persons with unidentified dead bodies. And this was really the inspiration for this series of crime thriller novels that she then went on to write. And I want to quote directly from Clea here to give you an idea of what this series is all about. So she says, because I'm a forensic anthropologist, when I look at a dead body, I don't see only death, I see life. And so that's really why I think this crime thriller series that she has written is so original and so exciting, because it really is, unlike a lot of other crime novels, crime series, her protagonists are looking at ante-mortem data as opposed to post-mortem data. They are looking at how victims lived as well as how they died. And so she has written a series of novels. For the moment, there are 3 books in the series. The first book, Silent Evidence, just came out with Avon in the UK and is forthcoming in the US, also with Avon. And she's also written 2 other novels in the series. And her protagonists are a duo of forensic anthropologists, Jane Hall and Steely Lander, who are very much based on her personal trajectory, so also worked in the UN and have now founded this agency to help the FBI on difficult cases. I think what also I love about this series, and I worked on it with Clea, and I think she feels passionate. I think what comes across is that she feels passionately about these subjects, is that she really does weave the science, the technical expertise with very important social issues currently, and an absolutely cracking plot every time. So to give you an idea, in Silent Evidence, so the first book, Jane and Steely are having to help the FBI with a case in which they have to identify body parts which end up belonging to a series of female sex workers who had disappeared. Again, women who had fallen through the cracks in the system. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was putting the time and the resources into finding them. Jane and Steely are able to bring their expertise to help their families get them home. Deadly Evidence, book 2, is the victim is a mixed race ancestry and has fallen through the cracks in the system. As Clea explains, it's, the coroner system is very much a tick box. You have to identify somebody, and it's a very binary system. It's very black and white. And as Jane Hall says in one of the books, picking between labels just doesn't make sense when dealing with humans. And so that's exactly what Jane and Steely are trying to combat, what Clea Koff is trying to combat with this. And so every time they are there to bring their specialist knowledge to the FBI and help them solve the case. It's page turning, it's suspenseful. You also really delve into Jane and Steely's personal life and their personal demons. Again, that joins up with what Clea has written about in her memoir as well, having to process all of those experiences that they had. And so it really is a fantastic series. I sold it at auction to Avon in a 3-book deal. And the first book has just come out, and I'm very excited to be able to show you because I have a physical copy here, which looks fantastic. And so, as I say, that just came out in the UK. It's coming out in the US at the beginning of 2025. Book 2 is scheduled for spring 2025 and book 3 in autumn 2025. So Avon are really going ahead. They've had a fantastic launch. And I wanted to flag as well that audiovisual rights have already been optioned by a Hollywood producer. I can't tell you any more yet, but that's all very exciting. In terms of translation rights have sold in France and Russia so far. What I wanted to flag is that audiobook rights have sold to Audible in Spanish, Italian, German, and Portuguese language. So Audible are looking to invest in translations in these languages, so they could definitely share with the translation costs. So that is definitely something to bear in mind. So just to sum up for this series, it's twisty, it's page turning, it's combining suspense with expert detail, and really 2 protagonists, 2 heroines who really, reminded me of a Kay Scarpetta or someone of this ilk. So if you're looking for the next Patricia Cornwell or Kathy Reichs for your list, Clea Koff is the one for you. So there we go. Next up is Olivier Truc. So we're moving now from the States to Lapland and Northern Scandinavia. Just show you his portrait here for those of you, I'm sure lots of you already may be familiar with him. So Olivier Truc is a best-selling, prize-winning French writer, journalist, TV documentary producer, script writer, and he has written the prize-winning Reindeer Police series, which I'm sure a lot of you may be already familiar with. Why we wanted to really flag this is because Olivier has just published, and here it is. I have the physical book. I always like to show the finished book because I just think it gives a really good idea. Here we go. The last book in this series has just been published by Métayer in France, and this concludes the 5-book crime series of the Reindeer Police series that Olivier has written. This series started 12 years ago, and now over 20 book prizes and over 450,000 copies sold worldwide. Later, he has now concluded the series with this novel called The First Reindeer. You may be familiar, but I will just give a little idea of the series for those of you who don't know him. So it's set in the Lapland region of northern Scandinavia, and it features 2 members of the Reindeer Police. So it's Clement Nango, who is an experienced Sami police officer who grew up in a Sami village, one of the few Sami villages beyond the Arctic Circle, and Nina Nansen, who is an ambitious young police graduate, and she's from South Norway. And these 2 very different characters, very different people, very different life experiences are sort of thrown together in book 1 as the P9 patrol of the Reindeer Police. And so they have to, alongside everyday disputes, border disputes, reindeer theft, vandalism, they also have to deal with, throughout the series, a variety of more sinister crimes. The other thing I'd like to mention, I think, is the third, I would like to say it's the third main character of the series, is the tundra. It's the icy wastelands of the Arctic and this semi-deserted landscape, which on the surface appears very empty and very um, solitary. But in fact, as Olivier shows, he really delves into this very little known community and really delves into the Sami communities, their traditions, the Sami populations who've lived there for generations, who have been herding reindeer over these areas for many, many hundreds of years, and the more recent 21st century developments, the mines, the geologists, the iron ore transportation railways that now crisscross the landscape, and the fact that these communities and these populations are having to coexist in this environment. And that is really the backdrop to this whole series, and just feels as relevant, as important as it did 12 years ago, particularly in terms of talking about environment, talking about climate change, talking about how you prioritize energy needs for everybody, as well as respecting traditions and respecting people who are living in those areas. And so there are those there, that is the backdrop. And then Clement and Nina have to investigate, as I say, crimes such as the theft of an ancient Sami drum. There is a discovery of human bones at a reindeer slaughter site. There is an explosion on the railway. And so every time they have to use their knowledge, and particularly Clement, who is of Sami origin, but his family gave up being reindeer herders some years ago. And so he is having to marry his two identities, being a police officer and being somewhat estranged from his Sami culture, and also wanting to be part of that community. So it's a fantastically original series. I think it's obviously set in Scandinavia, it's a Scandi noir, but really looks at these populations that we don't know much about, and we learn so much through these fantastically, again, page-turning crime stories. So this is for fans of Joe Nesbo. It's for fans of the Netflix series and the book Stolen, which I'm sure some of you may have seen. So this is, as we say, we're giving a real push to it. The first book was published in 20 languages. And so there are lots of translations that exist. There are currently only 3 option publishers: Italy, Japanese, and Latvian, if I'm not mistaken. And film and TV rights are available to the whole series. So we really felt that with the publication of this, it really brings to a close the pentology, and I would highly advise giving this a read if you're publishing crime fiction. On to our next author. And now we're heading over to India and warmer climes, fortunately, because it's cold and rainy here. So this is Bhavika Govil. Here we are. She's a debut Indian novelist, and she was a joint winner of the Pontas Emerging Writers Prize, which you may remember from a couple of years ago. And I'm delighted to say that that piece of work that was a joint winner for our prize has now been finished, and she's going to be published by HarperCollins India in April 2025. And her novel is called Hot Water. Now, I'm very excited about this because she was acquired by Raoul Soni. So she's sharing editor with Avni Doshi, Janice Pariat, these fantastic, young Indian literary novelists. And so I think Bhavika is really at the start of a fantastic literary career. And Hot Water is a beautiful novel, beautifully wrought, elegant, and with a playfulness and an innocence which are just, I think, unique to Bhavika, and something that I think editors also abroad and overseas will really appreciate. And so this is a coming of age. I said this is a coming of age story with a difference, because there are actually 3 characters within this novel. And so it's a mother and her 2 children. So it's Meera, Ma, and Ashu. So Meera is 8 years old. Her brother Ashu is 14, and it's their mother. And it's the novel is narrated by these three characters. And each one of them, over the course of a summer, over the course of a long, hot summer in India, will come of age in different ways. Mira is learning to swim. She realizes that her brother and her mother have secrets from her, and she wants a secret of her own. And unfortunately, there is somebody that comes into her life, an adult that comes into her life, which means that she does end up having a secret. Ashu, who's 14, navigating adolescence, and is realized that he's falling in love with one of his friends, and so is having to process and navigate that, his feelings and growing into this identity while having to hide, or feeling like he has to hide this from the outside world. And finally, their mother, who in turn is hiding her own secrets, is having to marry, being a single mother, and with all of the stigma that comes with that, with trying to be a good mother, sorry, despite herself, but also expressing her resentment and sometimes the sacrifices that she's had to make for her children. So in parts, it's very raw. It's very emotive. I think it's, for her age and for the fact that this is her first novel, I think it's a very mature novel. And I'm absolutely thrilled that Raoul has taken it on, is going to be publishing it as a lead title with HarperCollins next year. All translation rights are currently available. And again, if you're looking for literary fiction, I would say this is, The God of Small Things meets Swimming in the Dark. Those are the comps we're having. So that's the kind of writing we're talking about. And I think, again, this is the start of something, a very special career and a very promising career for Bhavika. She's currently based in India. But she's studied and she's lived in Edinburgh, in London, and so she has links there. So she is more than happy to try and help publications. She can come over to Europe if necessary. So that's something really. This is an author and one to watch. So if you haven't already read the manuscript, I highly recommend. We're now going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about Laia Aguilar. Let me find her photo. Here we go. She is an award-winning Catalan author, and she's written various. She's got an important backlist. She's written various stories for younger readers as well as adult readers. And this latest novel, which has just come out and is already on the Catalan bestseller list, is All Those Seas. Here is the cover from Columna, who published in Catalan, and it's Destino in Spanish. Fantastic looking cover, I think. And the exciting news for us is that it has already been preempted by Thiele Verlag in Germany. A very fast preempt for Laia. And this is, I really wanted to speak to you about this novel because this is an upmarket novel. It's a family saga, beautifully written, but it could be for readers of Elena Ferrante and Jodi Picoult. We really think it's got that crossover, commercial, broad appeal, as well as having a beautiful language and beautifully written at the same time. And so this is a family saga set over 3 generations of women, and it's set on the Mediterranean island of Formentera, which I know is becoming increasingly unpopular for people to stay on. I unfortunately haven't been, but my colleagues have told me that it's becoming more and more known. And so it's set on this island with this beautiful backdrop, and it's narrated by 3 women in the same family. It's narrated by Greta, the daughter, Helena, the mother, and Mathilde, the grandmother. And the story centers around a tragedy that happened many years ago, which is that Giulietta, a 7-year-old sister of Greta, disappears from the beach one day. And Greta, who is only young herself, has to live with the guilt of the fact that her sister disappeared that day. Greta then moves to London and makes a life for herself in London, but eventually the novel starts when she moves back to Formentera to look after her grandmother, who has had a fall and needs somebody to look after her. And at that point, Greta and her mother and her grandmother are forced to confront their past. And what is beautiful about this novel, and I think I'm just going to read this quote from one of the newspaper quotes that's already come out. It's been translated into English, but I just think this really gives the atmosphere of the novel. To read Laia Aguilar is to create words with new meanings, to imagine coral streaked mermaids, hidden treasures, and a grandmother's legends. It is to understand that growing up is complicated and that so too are families. That forgiveness is necessary, but it takes time, and that magic exists even in the toughest of moments. So I think that gives a really nice feel for the atmosphere of this novel. And those myths, those legends come from the grandmother and her storytelling, and the fact that Greta going back to the island, she has to reconcile herself with her past, with her mother and her grandmother, who is there, who comforts her, but also is there to retell the stories and legends of this island, and hope for, renewal and looking to the future. This is a positive, it's a very beautifully written book, and it's a positive ending, and it's looking for forgiveness and healing and how we can, between women as well, really it speaks to those mother-daughter relationships which are at once vital and necessary, and at the same time can almost tear you apart. It is absolutely beautiful. And we're, as I said, internationally it started to move. We would love for you all to read it. And yeah, that's a really exciting one. Again, it's in Catalan, it's been published in Spanish, and German rights are sold, but all other translation rights are available. And I see I'm just doing fairly well for time to speak about our final writer, Sama Halali. Here we are. So Sama is a Syrian writer who grew up in Spain, and she now lives in France, because we do like international authors here at Pontas. And Sama Halali has written a first novel called Operation Kerman. And I'm actually going to show you hot off the press, and this is not finalized, this is a work in progress, but Sama is being published by Roca, so Penguin Random House in Spain next year. And so they're currently working on covers. And so I just wanted to show you these, because these are a work in progress, but I think it really gives you a feel for the atmosphere of this novel. So this is a witty, comical, feminist adventure romp for, I think, if you can imagine, it's Killing Eve meets Robin Hood. And it's the story of Vera and Chloe, so two friends who are tired of having to go to work and basically scrabbling for money the whole time, and trying to see a way out. And so they decide that they are going to take matters into their own hands and rob unscrupulous millionaires. And this all goes very well until the day that they decide to rob a certain millionaire's mansion. And his wife discovers them. And instead of calling the police or having them arrested, she tells them that she has a mission for them. And that starts a fantastically fun mission, which takes them to the south of France, to Monaco, Russia, Iran, and they're searching for a priceless ancient rug that obviously Gladys wants to get back. And so despite themselves, despite the fact they don't even know how to fire a gun, they are going into sort of top secret, high security situations and having to make the most of it. It's had incredible reviews because it was already published by Audible in January. Here's the cover for that, and it has been getting fantastic reviews. So we're really, really excited that Roca are going to be publishing early next year. Audiovisual rights have already been sold to a well-known British production company. I can't say any more for now, but they've already been sold. And I would also like to flag that Sama lives in France. She lives just outside of Paris. She speaks fluent French. And so for any French publishers out there, she's obviously right here and she can do promotion and things. So I think it could be in part of the novel also happens, takes place in France. So I think it could be a very interesting one for France and in translation generally. So as I say, if you want a really fun novel, a comic, Killing Eve meets Robin Hood, then that's the one for you. So do give it a read. I think that's just about it. And I'm just having a look to see if there are no questions, but do feel free to email me after this at any point if you have questions, if you'd like to receive material, and I will be sending over a recap. Other than that, we'll be obviously in Frankfurt, we'll be at tables 21I and 22I. So do come and say hello. And I hope all of this has been helpful. And I'll look forward to hopefully meeting or seeing, all of you again very soon. Thank you very much. And yes, see you soon and happy reading. Bye-bye.